Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are. We hope you're doing well. It's Mike and Arlen, our Philippine journey, and it's nice to have you back. I started this project about a month ago, I guess it was, and I've held back on doing anything with it because I've been waiting for the right particular example to start with. I think this is it. I want to preface all of this by saying, first off, if you're an American and you've been scammed by a Filipina, or actually, if you're a foreigner, it doesn't matter, and you've been scammed by a Filipina, contact me. Tell me your story. We'd love to hear it. We'd love to share it. And if you're a Filipina that's been scammed by an American or another foreigner, contact us. We'd love to hear that too. And we'd love to to share it. Excuse me. That's important. It really is. Because there's no way that other people will learn unless they see the reality of what could happen. And don't get me wrong, there are plenty of bad foreigners and there are plenty of bad Filipinos. This is an example of something that's very extreme. So we're gonna share the story with you, and I should let you know in advance. Number one, we're gonna keep the person's identity completely anonymous because that's what they asked for. So if you asked or are afraid of sharing because of anonymity, this is how we would do it. That's the first piece. The second piece would be that, quite frankly, um, you know, we don't take at face value pretty much anything. This gentleman provided a ton of backup material, and it was significant and it was very compelling. So I have no doubt that this story is true. But like every story, okay, there are two sides. But we're going to tell his side today. So let's get started. Why don't we? So in 2019, this gentleman made plans to come to the Philippines, three of his friends. To make a long story short, and you can read through this and pause it, but to make a long story short, they all dropped out. He ended up coming alone. He had already traveled quite well. He had a background that allowed him to travel. He had just never been to the Philippines. And he didn't feel that bad about it. In the meantime, he actually looked online and found a woman that he started chatting with. And um, so to keep going, he met this young lady, and they, you know, she was in the area that they were planning to go to. It was one of the stops. He was going to multiple different cities. Great thing that we suggest to do. He just made a lot of mistakes that we suggest you don't make. But you know what? He was also a victim of circumstances he could not control as well. So he finds himself in a hotel room in Cebu City, and he's starting to plan out his next 6 weeks. And maybe this new young lady that he's going to interact with is going to join him. But at that same time, something he couldn't really um, control, and that was pandemic. So he got kind of stuck here. And that was fine with him until the hotel started making foreigners check out. Now, we're aware of that. Um, when we moved to the Philippines full time, our full time last move was actually on March 16th. And halfway across the Pacific, the pilot came over the airplane speaker and told us, hey, they just shut down the Philippines, shut down Manila, and you're not going to be able to find any kind of transportation while you're there. So we were fortunate that our reservation was for 6 months in a temporary condo. His was not. And what the government did was, if you didn't have reservations, you had to return to your country of origin. Or actually, that's not true. If you didn't have reservations, you could not stay. Now, there were some exceptions to the rules, but either way, he got kicked out, essentially, all right, or forced out. But he met this young lady and they were getting along, and so they ended up going to her and stay with her and her family. And it was a squatters area in a squatter village outside of Cebu, and he put aircon in and he upgraded their CR. He did other things to make his show his appreciation, food shopping, etc. But he was limited because he couldn't even get out of his boundary. And we also can confirm that because that's the way it was here. Actually, for the first 6 months of pandemic, I was personally restricted to about a 2-block radius of where we were staying. I couldn't go to the grocery store. Arlene could. Now, I think I could have gotten special permission, but either way, they spent it. Nothing really, just, no restaurants were open. He's just got cold water, but it was a little hot. Same thing. And every time he tried to book a flight, his flight would get canceled. And I can tell you what happens. What happens is, if you can find a way to get to the airport during that period of time, you were relegated to sitting in the airport until you could get on a flight. So that didn't work. All right. So she had land in southern Cebu and she was making payments on her own, and pandemic stopped her income. She had $300K left to pay off the debt and the titles. And so he helped her. Okay. Well, later he found out that that money just disappeared. There was no land. And even though it couldn't get any worse, she somehow managed to start interfering not only in his Philippine life, but in his home life. This gentleman, which I'm actually able to confirm, had a 100-year-old home. Very nice home. And because of pandemic, they turned the renters turned into squatters, and they weren't paying. And what was happening at that point was that the girlfriend was in contact with them. And you know what? Let me say to you, remember when I told you there's the short con and then there's the long con? This is the long con. We live in a disposable society, many of us foreigners. We go buy plastic bottles with water and throw them away rather than filling up cups of water or a thermos of water. Okay? He was able to verify and show that people were coming and going throughout his home. It was full of squatters, everything else. So for him, that had been about 9 months. And so he started figuring out he's getting screwed, and he thought he was free of her. And so he finally just got away from her. But she continued to do this. What happened here is she's not even getting money from him. She's getting subsidized by these squatters at probably 10 or 15% for keeping them informed of her next moves. So he gets a buddy of his to help him get ready for his escape. And this is where we let something happen and make bad decisions. He liquidates items so that he can get a cash basis here, but he couldn't open up an account. So he's actually running money through her. All right. I mean, you can't have a bank account without an ACR card, and that wasn't possible during pandemic. And so all this money of selling Rolex watches and other things that he would use to buy a condo, well, it all had to go into her account. Big mistake. So when his buddy finally sends the set amount, the final amount, he sends it to her on a Monday. Monday came. She said she was going to go get it. And then she said, no, I'm going to keep it. It was not a huge amount of money to him, but it was to her. And I didn't ask exactly how much, but we can put a guesstimate in there. So he immediately packs up everything he has and he goes on. And where he says he's a combat veteran from the Green Beret, actually, I was able to verify that he was indeed a combat veteran. The rest I can't really verify, but I don't have any real reason to not believe him at this point. So finally, he's going crazy. He's absolutely going crazy. So he gets on a bus. He ends up at Cubao, which is like a central area for the buses coming into Manila. And he's just crazy. I mean, he's just going through a terrible time. It's mentally grilling him down. Okay? So let's look at exactly just what happened here. What happened was he supported her. Maybe only a couple $1,000s US over that period of time, because living in a squatter's area ain't expensive. How much she made, though, off of what happened to his house because of her interfering with that, he lost tens of thousands of dollars. Damages, the way he had to sell his house was just horrible. Then the money that finally got transferred over for a condo, which, could be anywhere between 60 and 150,000, that's all gone too. So you see what I'm saying? It's the long con. Okay? These people that get ripped off for a couple $100 on Filipino Cupid, hey, it's a couple $100, move on down the road, and likely it won't be the last time. This gentleman went through a mentally devastating point in his life, lost a tremendous amount of money. I don't care how much you have, that's a lot of money. Okay? And ended up saying, hey, I'm going to move to Angeles City. Now, here's what's funny, or not funny, but unique. What's funny is I don't know this guy, but I've seen him. He lives one block over from me, and I've seen him. And finally, he met a nice girl at a cafe. And they've been living together for I don't know how long. All right. And they're moving out and getting a house in Mabalaca. And I'm so super happy for him. But this goes and shows you exactly what's happening. Don't ever let your guard down until you really know somebody. And even in that instance, should you really let your guard down? Should you really not make sure that you have reserved yourself an exit plan and strategy in case something doesn't work out. Now, I'm not talking about an exit plan from the Philippines, because this guy could have easily gotten on a flight if there had been flights to get on. But after a while, there were no flights to even get on during pandemic. And at that point, you've got to involve the U.S. Embassy. And I can't give you an answer as to why that didn't happen. And nobody wants to go home feeling distraught like that anyways. Now, this guy came out of this alive, number one. Number two, he came out of it mentally repairable. Okay? And now he's met what appears to be, and to his, we hope, better judgment, a good Filipino girl. And we hope it is for his sake. But you understand how much he lost. Just think if you'd have lost a fraction. Let's say he's probably lost, between the depreciation in the real estate that he had to sell, between the cash out of pocket that she actually stole that got transferred into her account, and between what he paid to put up with her, and then all of the expenses he incurred having to exit with nothing more than the bags on a couple backpacks. He had to leave a lot behind. All right. 150 grand probably isn't an unreasonable number. And even if you lost a tenth of what he lost, that's still $15,000. And for a lot of people, $15,000 is a lot of money. So we urge you to be very, very careful. We urge you to be aware that there are those good people and then there are those bad people. Try and figure out which one you're dealing with. And not only that, try and make sure that you protect yourself. That's the most important part. Then in return, should you ever find yourself in this sort of a situation, remember that the U.S. Embassy is there to help you. They're not going to give you money, but they can get you home. It's a loan. That's how the U.S. government works it. If they have to repatriate you and you don't have money, they will repatriate you, and it's a loan, and you don't get your passport back until you pay off that loan. We hope you've enjoyed this. Please do subscribe. If you're a Filipino that's been scammed, please let me know. Let's talk about it. If you're a foreigner that's been scammed, let me know. Let's talk about it. I hope you will learn something from, let's call him John, from his experience. That's the whole idea here, is to provide a learning event. And I hope that if you fall into a category where you can help provide a learnable event for others, you will. So please let us know. Subscribe, hit that thumbs up button. That's so important to us. And have a great day.